I'll read one that people seem to like called Poetry Reading.
I know this one well. This is a good one.
Poetry Reading. Imagine there's no heaven and that this, what we're doing right now, is hell. I'm talking, reading aloud, and you're listening. I'm talking in minutes thick and slow as tumors, and you are listening, silent, immobile, feeling screwed into your chair, each of you alone, each an island in an archipelago, stretching space. I'm trying to keep it light, like the cable TV pundits, like the talk radio gas bags, desperate to hold attention, dreading dead air as they spin like trophy wives chained to their bikes at the spa. My voice drones. There is sand in your mouth and nostrils. Clocks melt like lozenges under a tireless sun as you dream on and on of insomnia, of a great eye that never shuts. My voice drifts and falls forward and like dust floats away. Sometimes, once in a while, once in an eon, the words resound like shining, sonorous waves, slapping at your earlobes, thrumming at your eardrums, until again their insistence, their stubborn throbbing, comes stillborn, lodges in every muscle, every joint, every cell, from your pate down through the liquefied soles of your shoes, drop by drop through the boards on the foreheads of the dead. It seems it will never end, this nauseous, interminable half an hour.
I want to stay on this a little bit because I have a few comments. First of all, I'm familiar with the poem. I've heard you read it several times, and it gets a great reaction every time. So I would say it's probably one of your special poems. Did you feel it was special when you wrote it? Did you feel like I'm on to something here? People are really going to like this?
Not exactly. I did think that for once the humor would be a little more overt, a little easier for other people to grasp. Because I think of my poems as to a great extent having humor in them, even when they're very serious. But the humor isn't ha-ha, jokey humor. It's more the humor of irony and, this is life. and that's funny.
Sometimes it doesn't seem funny.
but to somebody it's funny. But this one I thought, well, at least it'll be, people will get the humor, and they did. I was pleasantly surprised to the extent to which they did.
I think the contrast between the seriousness of language and the seriousness of your own tone as you read it versus the subject matter is that's what makes it hilarious.
You're right. It's the tone has a lot to do with that. And the other thing is, many times as I've heard this, and it's sort of really just hitting me now, is the language in this poem is tremendous.
It's wonderful.
Your choice of words. I'm so impressed by the language in it. I get the feeling that, is this something that went through a lot of revision? Did you agonize over some of the language, or did this sort of come easy?
It went through maybe an average number of revisions, which for me might be about 6 or 8. So there might have been maybe 8 drafts of this from first till this one. But it was over maybe 2 years. This draft is just fairly different from the first one, although, probably like the first stanza is mostly the same, but other parts were changed and added and subtracted. So.
And as many great readings as I've attended over the years, I think we've all experienced those agonizing half-hour readings on occasion.
I was thinking to myself, I'm certainly sometimes when I'm sitting there in my own head, I'm critical of what I'm hearing. I'm thinking, I'm glad it's not going to be more than half an hour for this particular. I mean, some poets I can listen to for an hour and a half because I enjoy them so much. But every now and then, it's something that just isn't to your own taste, or somebody who doesn't really understand very much about how to deliver the poem, doesn't put feeling or anything into it. Well, I was thinking that if I'm thinking that while I'm listening to other people, there must be some other people who are thinking that when they're listening to me. So, I'll put it in the first. Well, nobody is to everybody's taste. So anyway, I just thought I'd put it in the first.
Bukowski might be critical.
Well, he would be, because he wouldn't like this kind of language. It's too ornate, it's too fancy schmancy. Just tell us the story. Kid, have another drink and tell us the story.
How about the other end of the coin? When you sit down to write something and you think you have a good idea, and it just doesn't seem to be working for you, how do you deal with that? Do you kind of put it off to the side and go back to it? Do you abandon it? If you do go back to it, how long of a gap are we talking about? How do you deal with poems that don't seem to be doing what you want them to do?
Well, I never throw anything away. My father's advice was, no matter how little you think of something, just put it away. We have room in the house. Just put it away somewhere, and you can always go back to it later, or you can ignore it for the rest of your life. So the answer is yes, yes, and yes. Sometimes I will go back to it within a short period of time and realize, you had one good line here, and then you couldn't make anything else out of it. It's not a poem. It's just one little random thought. Other times you go back to it and now there is something more that you can bring to it, and you can make a poem out of it. And then other times it's sort of a mixed result. You go back and make something, but it's not the success you thought it would be when you first got that initial kernel that seemed so great.
Does critiquing the poems help?
Tremendously. I would give a great deal of credit for many of the poems that I've had published have gone through the Mad Poets Society critique circle over the years. And I would give all the members of that a great deal of credit for helping me with figuring out how to finish my own work. So sometimes there are a few people in the group. Joe Chalufo comes to mind, and he'll make a comment, and I'll say, "That's what I'm trying to say." you figure it out. You got it better than I did.
And you talking about publishing, do you often send your material out?
I don't do it as often as I should. I probably get around to about 3 times a year, then do a whole bunch of them, one right after the other. I'll do like 1 or 2 a night for a week, and then other things creep in and take precedence and take time, and I kind of lose track of it. But I've usually got a dozen or more poems out there.
I remember when I first met Mad Poets, and Eileen used to talk about publication, and she said most people have the theory of start small and work your way up. She's like, I believe go for the gusto, go for the big publications, and if you need to, you work your way down. How do you feel about that?
Maybe I should have thought of that. But I remember, I guess when I first started sending stuff out in any kind of organized way, I got a copy of Poets Market, maybe it was. And they would give you a listing of like a degree of difficulty to get in. Was you have a symbol for this publication only prints 1% of the submissions they receive. This one maybe 20%. This one maybe 40% or 30%. And I generally started with the easier ones because I figured I've got a lot of poems here. I might just want to get some of them in print and sort of then forget about them. So I mainly sort of started not at the bottom, but in like the mid-range, with the mid-range ones, and tried to get some published in there. And now I've tried for some of the more difficult ones, and they're difficult.
I know that just recently, within the last few months, you won a major award. Can you tell us all about that? What you won and how you won it?
The third year in a row that I submitted an application for a Delaware Division of the Arts Fellowship, and this year I won it. And they have fellowships in a number of categories of arts. They have visual art and dance and like writing, and within writing, for example, there's nonfiction, fiction, and poetry. And they give out 2 fellowships for each of those. The emerging artist, and the other is for established professional. And I received the latter, the established professional one, for this year. So I'm the fellow.
Congratulations.
That's an impressive
That's
award.
right.
Well, I was very, very pleased.
I'm sure you were. That's great.
I mean, it wasn't the dance one, but it's
It wasn't the dance, and it's not going to be.